I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share it with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars ain't...
What's good? We're going to get into NXT from June the 16th, 2026. This was a pretty okay episode of NXT for the most part. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like what they're doing with the women. They continue to hold it down. Naraku teases a faction coming, which is fine. They'll more than likely show up at Great American Bash and help him win the NXT Championship. So they're probably going to end up putting Tony D'Angelo in a chase position, which would make sense. I like what they're doing with Zaria, sort of, kind of. It could be that we're going to see Tatum Paxley get her call up after the Great American Bash. We already know that she's more than likely going to lose the rematch. So that's a given. She'll definitely lose the rematch for sure. Overall, this show was pretty decent, though. It was pretty decent. You know, some okay stuff occurred. Again, we're still getting used to these new characters and everything else. And to me, I kind of like the new characters. It's going to take some time to get used to, but, you know, I do appreciate them pushing new people. I really do. I think in due time, I'm going to make a prediction. I do think that we're going to see Mike Santana and Leon Slater show up in NXT and kind of be, and kind of sign with NXT. I think their days in TNA are kind of pretty much numbered. Mike Santana would definitely show up for sure. Again, his contract is up, I think, in July. And I could just see him just going kind of straight for NXT after he loses his rematch against Nick Namath. So I could see him actually jumping ship to NXT in July in case Tony D'Angelo gets his call up as well. Because if Tony D'Angelo goes, you have no choice but to bring in a Mike Santana. Because I doubt if Naraku or Mason Rook or any of these new guys coming on in, if they're going to be able to carry NXT for a while. Right? Because they're just now trying to establish themselves as characters and everything. So, yeah. But all in all, NXT for the most part was pretty good. Pretty okay. All right, so we kicked the show off with Zaria. So she got a pretty okay reaction. So she says that she spent so much time living in Soruka's shadow that it ironically felt like she forgot what the sun looks like. Chance, if you deserve a breakout. She continues on by saying, after setting the women's division ablaze, you're looking at the new NXT Women's North American Champion. She says she did it on her own, overlooked, underestimated, and treated like an afterthought. People would like to talk about everybody but her as the future of the division, especially Soruka. But now she's the one holding the title, and the future is in her hand. It's not a dream come true. It's a course correction, and she doesn't owe anyone any gratitude for something that was obviously hers from the start. She won't allow her name to fall into the shadows. So Kalani Jordan shows up. She said she wanted to congratulate Zaria in her capacity as the first NXT Women's North American Champion, a title she made credible enough for Zaria to open the show. Zaria asks what Kalani wants. Kalani says she wants a shot at the NXT Women's Championship, but since she can't get that, she just wants to offer some advice. She says the people who chant you deserve it are the people who will turn on her before the week is over. No matter what she does, it'll never be good enough. Even if you get the greatest reign in NXT, they'll always overlook her. But hey, maybe that's just Kalani Jordan. I mean, that's just the Kalani Jordan story, and it'll be different for Zaria. And then she complains about Kendal Grey, about her being one-on-one. So Kendal Grey shows up. She has some words with Kalani, and then Lola Vice shows up, and they all begin to bicker and argue and everything else. So even Lola Vice wants Zaria to get over Ruka, and I do agree. So they bicker. Robert Stone shows up. Before he can say anything, Lola says that she gets it. It's going to be her and Kendal Grey versus Zaria and Kalani Jordan. And Robert Stone says that's why we have the best women's division in wrestling. Okay, that's fine there. That was pretty funny, though. But this is fine. Again, I do see Tatum Paxley losing at Great American Bash, and she'll probably go on to the main roster after that. There's no point of there being a third match. Just end it and, move on. So, because Tatum would do pretty okay on the main roster for sure. So, I like it. Especially character-wise. She would do pretty okay. All right, moving on from that, let's lead us into the first match of the night. Tavion Heights is the new number one contender. He defeated Jackson Drake, so he's now the new number one contender to the North American Championship. Miles Bourne showed up towards the end of the match to kind of help fight off the Vanity Project. This match was very, very good. Jackson Drake has gotten better. And Tavion's always been good since he debuted. So he's been pretty solid since then. And both guys did pretty well. And then post-match, Miles Bourne tries to raise Tavion's hand, but he shrugs him off and says he doesn't need anyone's help. And Miles needs to know that. Okay, that's fine there. All right. I like what they're doing with this, with Miles Bourne and Tavion Heights. I like it. I feel that Miles Bourne's time in the sun is basically over. There's no point in him continuing to be champion. I don't know what you do. I don't know if he's going to make it on the main roster. I don't know. But Miles Bourne is okay. I like him. I really do. But what's next for him if he does lose that Great American Bash to Tavion? Because if Tavion loses, where does he go? Like, I don't know. Because Miles Bourne, you could put him in a bunch of off-title feuds and everything else and have him chase the title again and everything. But I would like for Tavion to, be champion. I think Tavion's good. He's a good character. He's good on the mic. He's good in ring. He just needs, something to do. And him having the NXT North American Championship, that would give him something to do. You could continue to feud him and Miles Bourne together, and then after that feud's over, you move them on to different things. So, yeah. Moving on from that, this leads us into some footage from Hank and Tank. Well, actually, no. We get some stuff from the Mr. NXT pageant from last week. So, Birthright, Hank and Tank, they're talking with Robert Stone. So, Birthright, they show up. Lexis King thanks Robert Stone for finally giving Birthright the respect they deserve by putting Arianna Grace in the women's speed tournament. So the comedian guy, he calls Lexis King Timu Brett Michaels. So there's that. That's kind of funny there. I like that. So Uriah Connors, aka Broken Finley, and Stax, they step up to defend their pal, and they begin to bicker back and forth. And I believe it's a match that's made for later on in the show. And moving on, this leads us into Izzy Dame. She defeated Thea Hale to advance in the women's speed tournament. This match was okay, short. It was like a minute and a half, maybe a minute and 40 seconds, maybe. But this match was okay, short and sweet, because it's 3 minutes. So I believe Sean Spears got involved or whatever. He distracted Thea Hale. Izzy ended up winning via the Busaiku knee for the 1, 2, 3. So that's pretty cool there. I don't know why Izzy didn't use her Sky High finish or whatever. I don't know, but it's always good to have different moves in the chamber. So I like that. Have different moves in your repertoire. It's always a good thing. I'm not gonna hate it. Thea Hale, how the mighty have fallen. I don't know what the hell's going on with her. They haven't done anything with her for at least, I want to say it, close to a year. It's not been exactly a year, but it feels like it's been a year. And I don't know what you can do with Thea Hale. Maybe you could put her in the tag team division and kind of put her with somebody. But man, they have not done anything with her ever since Chase U basically disbanded. I don't know. I don't know. So Izzy Dame winning is fine. So, there's that. Is she going to win? Probably so. It would make the most sense. Moving on, this leads us into Ren Sinclair and Ren Sinclair and Kendal Grey. So they give each other pep talks about their title matches. And Kendal Grey asks if she's going to be in a corner at Great American Bash. Ren says that she needs to focus on retaining the Speed Championship. And Kendal Grey says the most important part is that they end the night as champions. Lola Vice shows up to give Kendal Grey more advice for acting like she's already beaten her and everything. They go back and forth for a moment, and then Ren Sinclair says she's going to excuse herself to get medical attention. So that's fine. It is what it is. Moving on from that, this leads us into Tony D'Angelo. He's outside somewhere, and he's going to see Naraku in kind of like this creepy palace or whatever. It was kind of cool. I liked it. It's pretty cool stuff there. I like it. Kind of fortune teller type of thing. Moving on from that, this leads us into Naraku and Tony D'Angelo. So Naraku invites Tony D to have a seat. Tony D says that he's no fool. He knows how these meetings go. He used to have a few of him himself. Very good. Very reminiscing of the family with Stax, Luca Cristofano, and Adriana Rizzo, which the family is no more. Naraku says he's got this contract from Robert Stone, and for him to sign. Tony D'Angelo says he sees that to the nice guy act. Naraku says he doesn't understand, and Tony D says that he did his research and he knows not only did Evil hold the biggest title in Japan, he did so by running roughshod over Japan with a pack of wild dogs. I like that. So Naraku tells him not to judge him by the past. Tony says he knows about his evil ways, and he only left Japan to come to get his title from him. And again, so he's talking about basically the House of Torture, good stuff there. Naraku came over here by himself, a man without his family. Naraku says that observation means that Tony D'Angelo gets it. And Tony D says if he came over here without any stablemates, it must mean he thinks that he can get it done by himself. But he's not going to be that easy to beat. Tony D'Angelo opens the contract and notes that Evil hasn't signed it. Naraku says all in due time. Tony D'Angelo signs the contract and passes it back to him and dips out. And then Naraku says evil is coming, and then he cackles. So I like that. Really good stuff here. They're teasing a faction. They're teasing some more guys coming through, which is great. Maybe Nakamura goes back down to NXT as well, since I'm pretty sure him and Evil, they know each other very well. So why wouldn't they? And I do think that Nakamura should show up in NXT and kind of reside there for a while. He's done fuck all on the main roster anyway, especially under Triple H for a second, in the Triple H administration. He's not done much of anything. So that would be great. So hopefully we see Shinsuke Nakamura show up at Great American Bash. And I do think a couple of new guys will show up as well. All right, moving on from that. This leads us into Robert Stone. He's talking to somebody on the phone about the Great American Bash and everything else. And then Keanu Carver shows up. Keanu Carver continues to complain as per usual about how he's got no opponents and everything. So EK Prosper shows up. Robert Stone said he's glad that he's here because he's going to have a match against Keanu Carver next week. Keanu Carver complains that EK isn't competition and on his level. EK says that he'll humble him next week. And Keanu Carver said it sounds like he's got a death wish. So I like this. This is pretty cool. I like what they're doing with Keanu Carver. I really do. I do think in due time, he's going to be a champion at some point in time. I'll make this bold prediction. If Tavion Heights doesn't beat Miles Bourne, I think that privilege will go to Keanu Carver. I think he would be a great North American champion. You give him a reign with the title for about like a year-long reign as champion, and then you move him up to the main event scene. And I think that'd be the best bet for him. So, make him a fucking killer, which he already is, and go from there. Moving on from that, Nattie, she defeats Jaida Parker. This match was actually quite solid. Very good shit here. Jaida Parker brought the fire, but it seems like she can't get anything done. It seems like WWE has said, fuck you for kind of dealing with Jey Uso. You ain't, you in the doghouse. So she lost to Nattie, which is, to me, insane. It is what it is. This match was very, very physical. And Natalya winning via the sharpshooter is insane. I'm guessing this is not over with. This is going to more likely continue their feud. Clearly, Jada's going to win the next two. And this is fine. So, yeah. I didn't think that they were going to have Nattie win, but her winning, it does make sense. So, it's fine. Moving on from that, this leads us into Mason Rook and Lizzie Rain. So they're walking backstage telling about their misfortunes as of late. Christian Angels, he shows up. He tries to derail them for being losers and said he's not only defeated, but he's Mr. NXT. So Aaron Ruka, well, not whatever his name is, the real feminine guy who's now the new Evolve champion. He said that Silo Hill is actually Mr. NXT. Tristan Angels cites some rules about how Mr. NXT, if he can't compete, the runner-up wins, and opens his jacket to reveal the sash. So Aaron wants a match and says after the swimsuit round, they both know that Tristan comes up short, and then he storms off. So that's fine there. And then both Rook and Rain tell Aaron to kick his ass. Okay, whatever. Moving on, Arianna Grey, she defeats Layla Diggs. So she advances. We had like 11 seconds left. For whatever reason, Layla ended up doing a moonsault and taking out all the members of Birthright. And then immediately she got rolled up by Arianna Grace. It was fucking funny as hell. I loved it. Good stuff. Good stuff. So that's fine. Makes sense. Moving on from that, Dorian Van Dukes, John Legacy, Noam Dar, and Romeo Romero, they're all chatting about backstage about the three newbies sitting beneath Dar's learning tree and everything. So Noam puts over Romeo. Romeo says their styles blend so well together and their team feels special. John Legacy thinks that he and DVD have found the same thing. Darian is distracted watching the calling, walk behind them. Sean says they just need opponents. DVD says, why not the calling? And then they go off to chat to Robert Stone. Okay, that's fine. They're now trying to rehab and revive the NXT Tag Team division, which is fine. It makes sense. So you got two pretty cool little teams there. All right, cool. Moving on. This leads us into Tate Wilder. So he cut a promo backstage about how he left how his left pinky is permanently bent because he messed it up learning how to backflip down the river. It isn't perfect. It isn't symmetrical, but it's real. Risk comes with consequences. However, he's still chasing his first win. Okay, whatever. That's fine. All right. Moving on from that, we get a great vignette for Saquon Shugars. This was fucking awesome. This was some really good shit here. So we get a really good backstory about how Shugars grew up and everything else. So he cut a promo about how he's taken Darkstate out one by one since they kicked him out, and the emotional struggle caused by these three college athletes coming to help him for adapting to his world, and how he feels about helping him out is the dumbest mistake of his. But it's like turning on him was the dumbest of theirs. Okay, so I like that. Pretty good stuff there. So Deon Lennox, he's watching on a monitor, and then he says, we'll see who made a mistake next week. Okay, that's fine. I do expect for this feud to last quite some time. So, yeah. Moving on. This leads us into the main event of the evening. Lola Vice and Kendal Grey, they defeat Zaria and Kalani Jordan. So towards the end of the match, Tatum Paxley showed up to the crowd. Her and Zaria ended up brawling and everything. So there's that. I can't remember who got the win. I want to say it was Lola Vice. She ended up pinning not Zaria, but Kalani Jordan ended up taking the pin. So there's that. The brawl continues between Zaria and Paxley post-match. And then Kendal Grey and Lola Vice, they have a stare down. Kalani Jordan gets involved. There's a tug-of-war over the title. And then Kalani takes it. Kendal Grey blasts Lola Vice in the face with the belt by accident. And then that was it, because Kalani Jordan started laughing, and that was that. So Lola Vice is out. Kendal tries to apologize, and that was the show. So good stuff there. I like it. This could lead to another triple threat match between all three women, but I doubt it. Because what do you do with Kalani? Kalani, she can't go after the North American title because that's held by Zaria, who's a heel. So I don't know what you do with her. I really don't. Overall, NXT was very decent this week. So I enjoyed it. I like what they're doing with Naraku. They're teasing a stable coming, which is great. That's good. NXT is going to bring in new people anyway, so that's excellent. I like what they're doing with Tate Wilder. I like what they're doing with Keanu Carver as well. I like that. Thank God they are rebuilding the tag team division, so that's good there. The matches overall this week were pretty good. You know, Izzy Dame and Arianna Grace advancing is fine. I don't expect for Arianna to win it all, advance in the tournament. I think it's going to end up going to probably Izzy Dame, because there's more story that can be told. So, there's that. But all in all, the show itself was okay for the most part. But what did you guys think? Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.